Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 15th annual meeting of the Greater Houston Partnership. I'm Deborah Cannon, and I've had the privilege of serving as the chair for 2003 for the Partnership's Board of Directors. I also serve as the president for Bank of America for the Houston region. And I'm happy to say that there are almost 1,300 of us today starting the year out right. And that's by networking with business colleagues as we celebrate a solid year of achievement by the partnership. Today we'll review those accomplishments and we'll recognize those who made it possible and take a look at our focus for 2004. But first, some very important introductions. This meeting is presented through the generosity of our sponsors, and I'd like to take a moment to thank them and recognize them for their contribution. So first, I want to start with our executive partners, who are our platinum sponsors, and they are Shell Oil Company, ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, JP Chase, and SBC. Let's give them a huge round of applause. Our gold sponsor today is Waste Management, and our silver sponsors today are Bank of America, Lou Lance, Silicus, Silver Eagle Distributors, Southwest Bank of Texas, Wells Fargo, and XO Communications, and let's give them a round of applause. Our bronze sponsors today are Andrews & Kurth, Bracewell & Patterson, Crescent Real Estate Equities, Gensler, Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center, Halliburton, HCA, Houston Astros Baseball Club, the Houston Chronicle, Lock Liddell & Sapp, Memorial Hermann Healthcare System, Mosbacher Energy, Cisco Corporation, Texas Southern University, University of Houston, Walter P. Moore and Associates, and the Woodlands Operating Company. And let's give them a big round of applause. Additionally, we want to thank the George R. Brown Convention Center and Roadshow Media for helping make today possible. It's because of these sponsors and their support, not only today, but throughout the year, that we're able to do so much. As you know, the Greater Houston Partnership is truly a partnership of companies and business people. And these many sponsors support our programs, and these volunteers spent countless hours developing our programs and policies and recruiting members. So what the partnership is all about is people working for business and the quality of life, and we really, really appreciate all of their efforts. Now, I'm honored to introduce our guests at the head table. I'll ask them to stand, but again, in the interest of time, I'm going to ask you to hold your applause until we finish. So I'll start over to my right with Jim Kohler, who is chairman, president, and CEO of the Greater Houston Partnership. I guess I'm chairman, huh? For another 2 minutes. Next to him is Judge Robert Eccles, Harris County Judge. Next to him is Robert Mosbacher, president of Mosbacher Energy Company and our incoming chair. On my left is our new mayor, Bill White. And next to him is Jody Giles, who is senior vice president for First Albany Capital and the 2004 vice chairman, which means he will be 2005 chairman. Behind us on my right is Lynn Elsenhans. Lynn is the president and country chair for Shell Oil Company. And next to her is Kirby John Caldwell, whom you've already heard from. To my left behind us is David Huntley, who is vice president for external affairs for SBC, and David Mendez, who's chairman for the Houston region for JP Chase. Please give them a round of applause. Before today's event, the partnership briefed the Consular Corps of Houston on 3 important issues that the region is facing, those being the economy, transportation funding, and clean air. Now, as you know, the Consular Corps is incredibly important to us, and their continued involvement with the partnership is most important as we build bridges to increase trade and increase understanding of our diverse cultures. We're very fortunate in Houston to have the 3rd largest consular corps in the nation. The presence of these distinguished men and women is an indication of how important Houston is in the global business world. So we're very pleased to have them here today, and I would like to ask them to stand so that we can recognize them. And I believe they're to my left. Yes, there you are. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do. Oh, and I'm sorry, the Consul General is here, the Dean of the Consular Corps, and that is Arturo Otanedo, Luciano, and he is from Colombia. Thank you. Also like to ask the board members for the partnership to stand as they put in countless hours, and let's recognize them. All over the room. Next, we'd like to welcome our elected officials today, and we recognize how important all of our elected officials are to us and to the work that we're doing for our state, our city, and our county in terms of finding solutions to all of the issues that we face. So I'd like to ask them to stand as we introduce them, but again, if we could hold our applause and recognize them as a group. We have with us Congressman Chris Bell and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. We have state senators John Lindsay and John Whitmire. We have state representatives Joe Nixon, Rick Noriega, Talmadge Heflin, Martha Wong, and Beverly Woolley. We have from Harris County, in addition to Judge Eccles, we have Commissioner Sylvia Garcia and District Clerk Charles Baccaris. From the City of Houston, in addition to the Mayor, we have Controller Anise Parker, and we have City Council members Tony Lawrence, Carol Mims Galloway, Addie Weissman, M.J. Kahn, Pam Home, Mayor Pro Tem Carol Alvarado, Mark Ellis, Gordon Kwan, and Ronald Green. And we have two other regional mayors with us, Mayor Alan Owen from Missouri City and Bill King from Kemah. We have HISD trustees, and I'd like to ask them to stand. That is Manuel Rodriguez and Diane Johnson and Lori Bricker. Then from we also have, and in this I'm going to ask everybody as a group now to stand. We have our Houston Community College trustees. We have North Harris Montgomery Community College District trustees, Metro Boards, the Metro Board of Directors, Port of Houston Commissioners, and Houston Harris County Sports Authority. So please join us in thanking them for all they do for us. And we have Senator John Lindsay is here as well, in case I overlooked that. Finally, I'd like to welcome our new partnership board members. These are business people who have joined our ranks since our last quarterly meeting in October. And I would encourage all of you to get involved in this organization. I promise you it will be a good use of your time and good for the region. So would our new members of the partnership please stand? Let's give them a round of applause. Finally, as you came in today, I hope you had a chance to see the banners out there because they're very special. There were banners recognizing the 338 companies who have been members of the partnership for 25 years or longer. And so I think they're very special, and we owe them a huge debt of gratitude for all that they do and for their continued loyalty. And we're counting on them for another 25 years. Now, this is actually a business meeting in addition to a great networking opportunity, but we do have one piece of business to conduct today, and that is election of new board members. The partnership has never compromised on the level of involvement and commitment expected from member or companies, and we require that board members be the CEO, managing partner, or the senior local decision maker for companies that are headquartered elsewhere. We believe that this policy makes us a much stronger and more effective organization and ultimately pays real dividends for our community. Nominees for board membership were solicited from the membership. Our nominating committee then narrowed that list and took it to the board. After the board approved it, a proxy form was sent to all member organizations, and each member organization is entitled to one vote. In your program is a list of the nominees for your approval today. Now, we've received an adequate number of proxies to represent a quorum, but we still want to go through and ratify that election. So I'm going to ask you, for all those in favor of the nominees as listed in that program, please signify by saying Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. The ayes clearly have it. And please join me in welcoming the new board members. It's been my honor to serve as chairman of this organization for the past year. It's been a very fast year, but it's been a year of very hard work and commitment on the part of all of you, our members, whose involvement really drives the partnership's contributions to this community. My experience as chairman has reinforced my belief that action comes about through collaboration. And this organization is all about teamwork. And once again, the volunteers and the staff have proven that working together, we can accomplish many things. As a group, this is a collection of great business minds, and we continue to make a huge impact on Houston, working together towards our common goal of promoting what we know as the greatest city in America. We've been busy in 2003, and I'm going to take just a few minutes to tell you about the main things. In the interest of time, I'm going to have to skip over a lot of things, but I wanted to mention a few things that we did accomplish. As you know, the 78th legislative session took place last year, and it was an eventful one. And our member volunteers were active, very active, lobbying the partnership's 31-point agenda. And we achieved major success with the passage of the funding for the Texas Emissions Reduction Plan, for mobility and trauma care funding, and many more items. Transportation was also big on our agenda this year, and we saw major victories in this area. With the Metro Rail issue prominent in the November election, the partnership committees conducted extensive analysis of the 22-year Metro Solutions Plan. After close review of the plans for local and express bus service, park and ride service, light rail, the committees formed a consensus plan. The committee leaders forged a consensus plan which supported Metro's $640 million bond program. And as you all know, that program did pass in the November election. Transportation has also been one of the major issues statewide, and the partnership was a strong advocate for additional highway and transit funding for the Houston region. Partnership leaders, together with representatives from other state metropolitan areas, made up the Texas Urban Transportation Alliance, which advocated for focused funding in urban areas. The Alliance had measurable impact in the state with the passage of House Bill 3588 and the Texas Department of Transportation's publishing of the Texas Metropolitan Mobility Plan. The partnership was very active in the development of that bill, and the two components that are of particular interest to us are Proposition 14, which gives the Texas Department of Transportation the ability to sell bonds, and it establishes a driver responsibility funding mechanism for the Texas Mobility Plan. Another active group this year has been the Minority Partnership Task Force. The task force is aimed at promoting opportunities for minority professional services firms to enhance business development opportunities, helping to provide them with greater access to large company contracting opportunities. Investment in our minority businesses has a beneficial effect on the entire region. When we support minority-owned businesses, they grow and become stronger and contribute substantially to the economic health of our region. Through the work of the task force, we are now positioned to help minority professional services firms build a bigger, stronger base of business in Houston. Here in Houston, as you know, we are fortunate to have the world-class medical community, and healthcare continues to be at the top of our agenda. The partnership's healthcare task force tackled healthcare issues on the federal, state, and local levels with focus on improving access to healthcare, addressing the emergency room and nursing shortage, and facilitating collaboration as it relates to public funding of homeland security projects and regional readiness. The partnership adopted a resolution supporting a coordinated region-wide healthcare delivery system. In addition to making healthcare more accessible, these efforts will help alleviate the hospital emergency room overcrowding. The partnership also supported area federally qualified health center applications, and I'm pleased to say that 2 new locations in the region have been designated for these centers. Now, we'll continue to work to get more of these designations and to procure additional public health care funds. We also passed a resolution in support of state-funded health care programs, while continuing to monitor and provide input to previously supported positions. Education is always and has always been one of our community's top concerns, and the partnership has worked on multiple levels to improve Texas public education. We've recently established a public school funding task force to make certain that the business community in Houston has a seat at the table in the next upcoming special legislative session. We continue to provide global business opportunities, and Houston and the partnership played a very key role in hosting the 8th round of the negotiations for the U.S. Central American Free Trade Agreement this past fall. The partnership supported the passage of that agreement, as it did the U.S.-Chile and the U.S.-Singapore agreements, which passed last year. And finally, the partnership's flood control task force worked towards successful flood control management. The task force has been coordinating efforts to develop a regional and comprehensive plan for stormwater management. In the interest of time, those are all of the programs I'm going to talk about now, but I can assure you there were many, many programs that I haven't had the time to mention that were accomplished last year. I want to thank all of our members, our volunteers, and our board for your contributions. Your commitment and your time have worked to improve our businesses and, I believe, our community. This new year will undoubtedly bring more opportunity to the partnership to build on our successes and to rise to face the challenges of 2004. But I'm confident that you, our members, will continue to stay involved and build on the tremendous assets we have in this community. It's really been a privilege for me to work with so many dedicated professionals this year, and I can't thank you enough for the opportunity. Thank you. Now, it is my honor to introduce the new chairman of the partnership for 2004, Mr. Robert Mosbacher, Jr. Many of you know Rob as an active board member. That's somewhat of an understatement. In addition to serving as the 2003 vice chairman and secretary and treasurer of the board, Rob also served as chair of the Healthcare Task Force and the Planning and Budget Committee, and in past years has chaired the Education and Workforce Advisory Committee. When he's not working on the partnership, which is not much time these days, Rob serves as president of Mosbacher Energy, which is an independent oil and gas production and exploration company with over 50 years in business. Rob, as a volunteer, is truly a role model for all of us. He serves as chairman of the board of the Methodist Hospital and the Salvation Army and is co-chair of the Houston Committee for Private Sector Initiatives. He also serves on the boards of the Greater Houston Area Chapter of the American Red Cross, the South Texas College of Law, and the Society for Performing Arts. Catherine, I'm not sure if you ever see Rob. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Rob Mosbacher, the new chairman for the Greater Houston Partnership.
Thank you. You can always tell the outgoing chair is the person with the biggest grin up here, ear to ear. Deborah, thank you very much. I want you to know it's been a pleasure and a privilege to serve as your vice chair. I share your pride in the accomplishments of the last year, and I want to express our deepest appreciation for your tireless efforts and for your leadership that has been exceptional, particularly in the area of the Minority Partnership Task Force, and I'm glad you're going to lead them again next year. Let me also present you with a plaque as a small expression of our appreciation. There you go. In recognition of outstanding leadership as the 2003 chairman of the board, Deborah M. Cannon. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I'm truly honored to accept the chairmanship of the board of the Greater Houston Partnership in 2004. I am particularly pleased to be assuming that responsibility at this time because as a native Houstonian, I have seldom, if ever, seen our community so well positioned to build on our assets and tackle the enormous challenges that we face, not only in our city, but in our state and in our region. Jane Jacobs, a noted expert and author on American cities, once wrote, quote, "Great cities are places where people from virtually any background are welcome to turn their energy and ideas into innovation and wealth," close quote. Well, a corollary to that is that they are also places where newcomers are accepted quickly and made to feel at home. Our incredible diversity and openness and acceptance of new players who want to get into the game, and a can-do spirit that is second to none, in my judgment, represent our greatest assets. These are qualities that no amount of economic development dollars or slick marketing campaigns can buy. They are real, and we are blessed to have them in abundance in Houston, Texas. Our challenge is to build on those strengths and the incredible physical assets that we have, such as the Port of Houston and the Texas Medical Center and the Johnson Space Center and a new revitalized downtown area, in order to take our community to the next level. There have been so many books and studies written about recent changes in the U.S. and global economy that you could stack it from this floor up to the ceiling. However, the conclusion that most experts have come to is that the critical factor in this new century in terms of economic growth will be human capital, or people. The cities that generate and attract well-educated, well-trained, creative people are cities that will excel in the ever more competitive global economy. Dr. Richard Florida, professor of regional economic development at Carnegie Mellon University, was so convinced of this after extensive research, surveys, and focus groups that he wrote a best-selling book entitled The Rise of the Creative Class. He spoke at a luncheon sponsored by the partnership that many of us attended, including Judge Eccles. His conclusion was that if we want to remain competitive as a city, not only must we do a progressively better job of generating our own critical creative thinkers, but we must also continue to focus our attention on how to attract the best and brightest people from elsewhere in the country. Some 50 years ago, 65% of the jobs in this country could be filled by people with a high school education or less. Today, that figure is just over 15%, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. Carly Fiorina, CEO of Hewlett-Packard Compaq, now Hewlett-Packard, put it this way to the National Governors Association, quote, "Keep your tax incentives and highway interchanges. We will go where the highly skilled people are," close quote. Now, I don't know how much time Ms. Fiorina has spent on our highways, but we got a few interchanges that need to be finished. But in any event, her comments about highly skilled people are increasingly common, particularly among technology companies. A widely held view of what attracts or helps keep highly trained people in an area is the availability of jobs. Intuitively, this makes sense. But there's been a remarkable shift in attitudes in recent years, as evidenced by a 2002 survey published in the Wall Street Journal of 4,000 college graduates. In that survey, 75% identified location as more important to them than the availability of a job in choosing where they want to go to work. In other words, our ability to attract and retain highly skilled workers who will help fuel our economy for years to come is not just a matter of having a positive business climate, although that's obviously important, but it's also a matter of the quality of life and the quality of place we call Houston. Fortunately, there's an increasing number of civic and nonprofit groups working together on these issues in addition to the partnership. One is the Center for Houston's Future, an affiliate of the partnership that has been focusing on future leadership for our community, as well as some of the challenges and opportunities that we face down the road. And let me just digress for a second to say, Gene Vaughn spent 3 years of his life helping build this. He's just turned over the reins of the board to David Mendez, and Gene's done a spectacular job, and I want to express my appreciation. The center was an integral part of the exercise to develop several future scenarios about what our area would be like in 20 to 25 years under a variety of different circumstances. Among the conclusions they reached was that many of the challenges we face can only be dealt with effectively if they are dealt with regionally. In other words, collaboration among the city, Harris County, the surrounding counties, and the private sector is no longer an option. It's an absolute necessity. And a great deal of this is already going on, but we need to kick it up another notch. In my judgment, one of the highest, best uses of the partnership is to serve as a facilitator to facilitate collaboration and consensus building in the interest of developing more effective new strategies on a host of critical issues. Let me touch on a few of those issues. Even though we must focus more carefully on investing in human capital, the competition for new and existing businesses throughout the country and the world goes on. At the partnership, we are committed to redoubling our efforts to aggressively pursue new or expanding business prospects in concert with the city, the county, the state, and our very important regional allies. We also want to expand our international opportunities in this region by enhancing Houston's presence around the world. Given the fact that Continental Airlines is headquartered here and has an abundance of flights throughout Latin America, we are already one of the primary gateways to that part of the world, and we need to build on that platform. Another area that has benefited enormously from significant collaboration relates to air quality. We will continue to work on improving the air quality in this area. The partnership has played a critical role thus far in helping our state meet the federal air quality standards, and we will continue to be engaged in the process in 2004 as those standards evolve. We will continue to work with the elected leadership from our area on finalizing a comprehensive regional mobility plan in 2004. I know that addressing our transportation problems is a top priority for Mayor White, as it has been for Judge Eccles, and we stand ready to assist him in any way we can to see that the Metro Initiative passed last November is effectively implemented and that his plans to improve the mobility of our city are realized. That would include work on a regional freight master plan that would attempt to balance the needs of the railroads to move freight in and out of our area with the need to reduce the disruption of street traffic at crossings. It's quite clear that flooding remains an extremely serious problem in our region, despite substantial efforts by the county to mitigate the problem. The partnership will work with the county and others to develop a regional comprehensive plan aimed at mobilizing all the resources available to avoid devastating floods in the future. Substantial work has already been done, but more can and must be done. We look forward to helping implement the recommendations of the Quality of Life Coalition to expand the region's environmental, visual, and recreational opportunities and amenities. This is a coalition of over 70 nonprofit organizations operating in concert with the partnership, the city, the county, and the state. In virtually every area I've just mentioned, regional collaboration is either underway or imminent in 2004. I consider that a very, very positive sign of things to come. Now I'd like to mention a subject where collaboration is not as much in evidence but desperately needs to be: healthcare. Despite having the finest medical center in the world, with some of the most gifted doctors, nurses, and staff that you can find anywhere, our system of public health is in crisis. I say that after having chaired the healthcare task force, as Deborah mentioned, for the past year, and having the utmost admiration for the heroic job that the county does of trying to discharge its responsibilities, given that at least 25% of our population is uninsured, and the job that the city does with the limited funds they have available. All of us who run businesses know that healthcare costs are going up. That results in many working people who were insured losing their insurance. If one compounds that with the fact that state government reduced the number of kids on the Children's Health Insurance Program by over 100,000, a program for which the state receives $2.75 from the federal government for every $1 we invest, it's easy to understand why our emergency rooms are being overrun by people who have nowhere else to go. Federal law requires that they be treated, and the vast majority of these patients are treated at county taxpayers' expense in what is usually the least cost-effective setting. I believe a better way to deal with such a high incidence of uninsured and underinsured people is to build more and open more primary care clinics in neighborhoods around town, and to deal preventively with many of the ailments that today are driving those people to our emergency rooms. Fortunately, efforts of that nature are already underway, supported by the county, the Partnership's Healthcare Task Force, and a large group of nonprofit organizations. But there's another step which desperately needs to be taken to make the most of every dollar available for public health and to improve the quality and consistency of the service provided. That step is to integrate and consolidate the various public health care providers into a single entity. In Houston, we have 2 primary health clinics known as Federally Qualified Health Centers, FQHCs. Greater Chicago has 80. When Chicago approaches the federal government for help, they do so on a consolidated basis on behalf of 3.4 million people. As most of you know, we have about 3.4 million people in this area as well. We can do a better job, and we must. That's why the partnership unanimously passed a resolution late last year calling for a consolidated public health care system. We look forward to exploring this approach with Judge Eccles and Commissioners Court and Mayor White and City Council. Finally, I'd like to close with some comments about the importance of investing in human capital and how it relates to public education. Other than students, parents, and teachers, no one has more at stake in the quality of public education than employers. Today's students are tomorrow's workforce. When I mentioned that our future growth and prosperity will depend on our ability to generate and attract educated, well-educated, creative thinkers, I wasn't talking about the select few who will graduate at the top of their class. I was talking about every single child who walks through the door of a public school in Houston, Texas, or anywhere else in this state. You see, I've spent a good bit of my time in the last many years working with our public schools. I share the President and Secretary of Education's absolute conviction that if we put the right standards of accountability in place, no child should be left behind. That does not mean that every child will learn at the same pace or reach the same ultimate level of education. But the vast majority of our children have the potential to be the creative, critical thinkers we need for the future. Since 1993, tremendous progress has been made here in Houston in academic performance, but so much more remains to be done. We have unacceptably high dropout rates, but those numbers will come down over time. The good news is that we now have in place the kind of accountability checkpoints that we should have had long ago. Today, students must pass a 3rd grade reading test in order to go to the 4th grade. And they must pass a 5th grade reading and math test in order to go on the 6th grade, and so on through high school. It used to be that they were passed along through something called social promotion, even though they might not have mastered the subjects in the previous grade. Well, social promotion is coming to an end. And what's more, the state has raised the academic standards for most subjects, particularly math and science, as evidenced by the new and tougher Texas Assessment of Knowledge and Skills test. It won't be long before virtually all students arriving in high school will be performing at grade level or above and will have the tools necessary to go on to college. This may sound like a pipe dream, but it's not. It will happen if we adequately fund our educational system to do the job we've laid out. Although more money does not equate to better education, I think it's wrong to ask our educators to do better with less money, and that is what we're doing today. Let me give you a quick example. We had 5 superintendents from area school districts speak to the board at our meeting in December. One of those was Rick Schneider, who's superintendent of Pasadena Schools, and he explained what he had to do to balance his budget. He eliminated 67 teaching positions. He asked those who remained to teach 6 of 7 periods instead of 5. And he saved $600,000 by reducing the custodial staff and only cleaning the schools 3 days a week. This is going on right now. At the same time, we're raising the bar for achievement across the board. Why do I mention this? Well, not only because how we fund public education bears directly on the quality of human capital we will have in this city and state, but because we're about to have a critical debate on this subject. The so-called Robin Hood property tax system, through which we've tried to bring relative equity between property poor and property rich districts throughout our state, has broken down. The state share of public education funding has fallen from over 50% to 38%, and the balance, as most of you know who are homeowners, has been imposed upon local property taxpayers. In all likelihood, the legislature will meet in special session this spring. Historically, the business community has led the way in public school reform. In my judgment, we must do that again. It is in that context that the partnership is working on recommendations that will attempt to address the shortcomings of the Robin Hood system, adequately fund our schools today and into the future, and maintain a healthy business climate. Few issues that will come before our state or our city are as important to our future growth and prosperity or our quality of life. Finally, the reason we're able to participate as an organization in issues such as economic development, air quality, regional mobility, flood control, health care, and education is because of you. We cannot do it without your support and engagement, particularly our volunteers, absolutely critical to the survival and prosperity of our organization. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and assure you that I look forward to working with you to take this great community of ours to the next level. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Rob, for a great speech and a great plan for this year. We're going to need everyone's help. We did miss Peggy Hamrick, whose state rep is here. Peggy, if you're still here, would you please stand, please? Be recognized. Thank you for coming. Now, if you want to go back and find out exactly what Rob and Deborah said today, in 2 days on our website, www.houston.org, you'll be able to see the video thanks to Roadshow Media. Next to last, I would like to recommend that you take advantage of the fact that we're about to have the judge's State of the County address on February the 9th and Mayor White's State of the City address, which I know by that time he'll be ready and willing to tell us on February 26th. Both of those should be outstanding programs, and we hope you will participate. Next, I would ask you to pick up copies of the partnership publications in the lobby if you haven't done that. And if there's anything that we can do to help make your business better, and if there's anything that we can do together to make the community better, we hope that you'll give us an opportunity to do that. We thank you for coming today. God bless you. Happy New Year. Let's all go out and have a great 2004. Thank you very much.